Radha Damodar temple. Have you visited there this trip? So many of the acharyas have their samadhis there, Bhajan Kutir, like Srila Rupa Goswami. And the deities so many deities are there, not because they were originally there, but because the pujaris sold off all the other temples and land and combined all of the deities in one temple. That's another story. So Srila Prabhupada, when he came to live at Radha Damodar temple, he was always thinking of how he could fulfill his spiritual master's instructions. And he decided to write. So he sat down, and if you study the Srimad Bhagavatam, you'll see that the entire philosophy of Krishna consciousness, Srila Prabhupada condensed into the first canto. Particularly in the introduction, he gave the entire life of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So this was because he had a plan that he would write the books. He didn't know if they would ever be published because he was penniless at that time as a sannyasi. He would write the books for his own purification, and if they were published, and if he could go to the West to preach, he would bring those books with him. So that's exactly what happened. All of you live in Bombay? Srila Prabhupada called Bombay the most important city in India. Not only is it the financial center, it's also the cultural center. So Prabhupada went several times to Bombay, and he finally got his books printed by Srimati Sumati Morarji, who was the manager at that time of Scindia Company. So that she also gave him a free ticket because he was determined to carry out his spiritual master's instructions. He was in his late 60s at that time, 68, 69 years old. But even at that late age, even if he was going to die on the path, he was going to do what his spiritual master asked him to do. So in August of 1965, he began his journey to America, and practically the only thing he took with him were trunks full of the Srimad Bhagavatam that he intended to distribute in America. He didn't know what was going to happen when he got there, but he knew that the Lord had some plan, and he was just the puppet in his spiritual master's and in Krishna's hands. So he went to America, and after 1 year of intense struggle and 2 heart attacks on the way, he was finally able to establish the ISKCON Society in New York City in 1966. At that time, because America was a very affluent country, and the children of that country, there was a big baby boom then. That was when we were all born, Prabhupada's disciples. And we had everything one could imagine materially, but our lives were still frustrated. So we were searching for some higher purpose in life, because we saw that our parents, they worked hard, they got all the things that they wanted for their family, and then after that, there was no real purpose other than working hard and getting the things you wanted materially. So we were all looking for something else in America because we already had everything material, and still there was no happiness. So Krishna sent Prabhupada to America at just the right time. And within 1 year, 2 years, he was able to attract hundreds and hundreds of disciples and start temples. He made his headquarters for ISKCON in Los Angeles. And he established the first deities there that are now called Rukmini Dwarkadish. And one day he was standing in front of Rukmini Dwarkadish, and suddenly Dwarkadish said to Prabhupada, "Go back to India." And Prabhupada explained this to 2 of his disciples, Brahmananda and Tamal Krishna Maharaj. Afterwards, we heard about this. So Prabhupada said to Dwarkadish, "I can't go back to India. My Guru Maharaj has told me to preach in the West. My godbrothers are preaching in India." And Dwarkadish told him, "No, I want you to go back to India and I want to give you, I want you to preach in India now. So Prabhupada didn't want to do that. He said, I've just established so many temples here in America. Look at this beautiful temple you have. This is where I should be preaching. So then Dwarkadish told Prabhupada that if you go back to India, I will give you a temple more beautiful than this temple. So go. This was in August of 1970 that Dwarkadish told Prabhupada this. So immediately, Prabhupada made arrangements to return to India. And he wanted to start what was called the World Sankirtan Party. So he went by the Pacific route. He first stopped in Japan, where a few disciples were trying to open a center. Then he went on to Calcutta. And his first plan was to start something at Mayapur, because that was the birthplace of Lord Chaitanya. But then from Mayapur, from Calcutta, he was having his disciples come to Bombay. And when they reached Bombay, they found Bombay to be so wonderful for preaching Krishna consciousness that they told Prabhupada, please come here and we'll have wonderful programs here. So from Calcutta, Prabhupada went to Bombay, and the devotees were very enthusiastic to make a temple there. So then there were going to be two temples, one in Mayapur and one in Bombay. And Prabhupada's real desire was to have a temple in Vrindavan. He wanted the temple in Vrindavan because in Vrindavan, the Westerners weren't welcomed in the other temples. So he wanted to make what was called the American house. That was because he felt that his disciples needed their own temple where they could worship and where they were welcomed. So that meant 3 temples were on the burner. So not only one temple, but Krishna in the beginning gave Prabhupada 3 major temples. And to this day, they're the most important temples in India. When Prabhupada went to Bombay to be with his disciples there were about 40 disciples. One of his disciples, Shyam Sundar, he had a wonderful idea because he noticed that a lot of the people, thousands and thousands of people, would attend the sadhu sammelans there on the beach at, I forget the name of that beach. What's the name of that beach? Chopati Beach, yes. Up to 10,000 people at a time would come to these sammelans. So the devotees decided that we would make our own ISKCON sammelan, and they thought the best place would be Cross Maidan. This was now 1971. So when they made that plan, it was so successful. Every night over 10,000 people came, and within a span of 11 days, over 1 million people attended this program morning and evening. And the grand finale was that the deities that now you're worshiping, Radharasa Bihari, they were brought to Chopati, and they had a fantastic final program there. Now Prabhupada at this time, because this was phase 2 of his ISKCON. Phase 1 was when he collected disciples in the Western countries. And phase 2, Prabhupada explained to his disciples that just like if you have a big tree, if you want to cut that tree down, then you need an axe. And what is an axe? An axe is just a piece of wood with a foreign element, the blade. So, for Prabhupada, when he had attempted to preach Krishna consciousness in India before he went to America, he started the League of Devotees, he had no success. No one wanted to give their children, no one themselves wanted to dedicate themselves to Krishna consciousness. But Prabhupada decided that if he wanted to again revive the Vedic culture in India, he would need that foreign element. So he brought back his disciples from America, from England, from Germany, from Japan. He brought them here to India. And with the example that his foreign disciples were setting, the Indian people, particularly in Bombay, were highly impressed to see that these foreign sadhus had given up everything in Krishna's service. So this was the phase 2 of ISKCON, but that wasn't all. Prabhupada had a next phase, because when he was in Bombay, the Times of India, the Indian Express, the newspapers, they were following everything that Prabhupada and the devotees did. Very frequently, they would put articles, front page, all over the place, about where the devotees were doing their Sankirtan, and where their programs were, and how the people were reacting. And there were a lot of letters to the editors that Prabhupada would study very carefully. So in one letter, one gentleman, he challenged that, yes, it's very easy to make people Krishna conscious in India because that's their culture. But is Swami Bhaktivedanta sending anyone to Pakistan? So when Prabhupada read this, he decided that now we're going to take challenges, real risks. And he sent 2 disciples, one to East Pakistan, Gargamuni, and another disciple, Brahmananda, to West Pakistan to preach. Now, what they didn't know was that at that time, 1971, there's going to be a civil war. How many of you were alive at that time, 1971? Maybe you remember that war, particularly in Bombay. It was so the disciples had gone to East and West Pakistan to preach, and Prabhupada was so worried about them because they were stuck during this war. So then Prabhupada decided that not only will we take risks in Pakistan, but he was going to send devotees to China, which was completely communist, and he wanted to enter Russia. And Russia at that time was very friendly with India. In fact, India, if you remember then, with the socialism and the secularism that was being set up by the government at that time, we were here then at that time, there were big banners across the roads, work is worship, and there was a lot of tendency for the Indian people to be favorable to socialism and communism. So Prabhupada wanted to devise some way that he could enter Russia and plant the seed of Krishna consciousness, which was practically an impossible endeavor. But he did it. Now, how did he do it was, there was a professor who was interested, he was a professor of Indian studies, and he wanted to invite Prabhupada to learn about the Vedas. So Prabhupada accepted that invitation, and there in Bombay at the consulate, he and 2 other devotees got their visas. And in June of 1971, they went to Russia for the first time. They were given visas for 5 days only. So within 5 days, Prabhupada had to plant that seed. And he had no idea how he was going to do it. They knew that they couldn't bring any books, they couldn't bring any pictures, they couldn't even present Krishna consciousness because everything was so strict. They were being watched at every moment by the police. But what happened was, his secretary, Shyam Sundar, his wife was Mataji. Perhaps you've all heard of these devotees. In the suitcase of Shyam Sundar, Prabhupada and his servant, Aravinda, they got through customs easily. Then they had Shyam Sundar's big suitcase that had all of the things of theirs. Now Mataji had hidden into that suitcase a Bhagavad Gita, and inside the Bhagavad Gita were pictures of the deities. So when they were going through customs, they opened up the trunk and they saw the Bhagavad Gita. And immediately there was alarm. The red bell started going and the police started coming. Then when they opened up the Bhagavad Gita, all the pictures fell out all over the floor. And the people started picking them up. So there was a big fluster. And the police didn't have time to look at what the pictures were. And everyone behind them was getting annoyed because it was taking so long. So the police just told Shyam Sundar, get out of here, go on. So that way, the first Bhagavad Gita entered Russia. So they still weren't free. As soon as they stepped into Russia, they had a guide who wouldn't leave them for 1 minute. It was a woman. She took them to the hotel. She made sure she gave them coupons for food that they could use at the shops, because everything was communist. There was no money, very little money. So they had to use these coupons to buy food. There was no food either. There were milk products, and Shamsundar was able to get 1 old cabbage and 3 potatoes for Prabhupada. And that first night, that was how they lived. Then finally, the next day, Prabhupada and Shamsundar went to the Red Square. Now the Red Square is where their leader, Lenin, is buried. And they keep his body in a tomb for everybody to come and have darshan. So and the people would wait overnight, stand in line to get in the morning time. So when Prabhupada saw this, actually tears came to his eyes. And he commented that every day we're seeing Krishna, and he's so beautiful playing his flute. And these poor people, all they have is a dead body to take darshan. So he later explained that there's a natural tendency to worship. Just as we are worshiping God, as we're worshiping Krishna, they also want to worship, but they're not allowed to worship God, so they're worshiping Lenin, this dead body. So on this takeoff, Prabhupada began to preach in Russia. He tried to preach to the scholars. The next day they went to the institute where Professor Kotovsky was. He met about 4 of the professors, but they were so afraid to even hear what Prabhupada was saying. The Prabhupada had no way to preach successfully with them. Then Shamsundar, actually the pilot of the plane, took them to this institute. The pilot was Mr. Lal, and he had attended the Cross Maidan festival and was very impressed by Prabhupada. So he took Prabhupada into the airplane when they were flying there, and for half an hour Prabhupada was there with the pilot. And when Prabhupada came out, he said that this 747, which was the biggest planes in those days, it can't run without a pilot. In the same way, this whole universe can't run without a pilot, and that pilot is Krishna. So Mr. Lal dropped Prabhupada and the 2 disciples to Professor Kotovsky's place, but then Mr. Lal had to go to... So at the end of the short meeting, they asked Professor Kotovsky to please find them a taxi. So the professor said, there's no way I can find you a taxi. There aren't any. You're going to have to walk 3 kilometers back to your hotel. So while Prabhupada and Shamsundar were walking back, one taxi appeared. And they got in, he drove them to the hotel, but they didn't have any money. So the taxiwala, when he saw that they were saints, that Prabhupada was a saint, somehow or other with the lack of language, he could understand that this was a saint. He immediately was so happy to be able to serve a saint that he did what the Christians do. He went out, he put his hands up to heaven, he said, that's all right, you don't have to pay me. This is God's service. So he said it in Russian. So Prabhupada, he saw that the people, actually they had a natural attraction for God, but the government was so oppressive. Prabhupada said that within 20 years, this government will collapse because it's all based on fear. So that is exactly what happened. Within 20 years, the communist government collapsed and the people were freed. Now, Shamsundar, after this experience, he decided he's going to have to get some money. So he was going to the bank, and he saw 2 young men. One was Indian, and the other was Russian. The Indian said, you want to change money? I'll change the money for you. Now, he was the son of one of the diplomats who worked in the embassy, the Indian embassy. And the other one was a language student, so he knew English very well. So the first one, his name was Madhukar. When Shamsundar didn't want to change money with him, he wasn't interested anymore. But the other boy, Anatoly, he was very interested. And he came back to meet Srila Prabhupada. And for 3 days, the next 3 days, Prabhupada preached the entire philosophy of Krishna consciousness to Anatoly. And when it was time for Prabhupada to leave, Anatoly asked him, "What should I do now? How will I learn? What's the next step?" So Shamsundar gave him his bead bag and his beads. And Prabhupada chanted on those beads. He made him a disciple, Ananta Shanti. You can see his samadhi in our Goshala. And he taught him how to make chapatis. So with that, he had the holy name, he had prasadam, and then they made a plan. How are they going to get books into Russia? So Anatoly, he said, if I have a foreign wife, then she would be able to come into Russia. So Prabhupada and Shamsundar, they thought, oh, that's a very good idea. So when they got on the plane, Prabhupada asked Shamsundar, now who is going to be the wife of this Anatoly, Ananta Shanti? So Shamsundar said, there's a French girl who joined in UK. I think she would be the right person. And Prabhupada said, yes, that's exactly the person I was thinking of. So they made a secret plan that she was going to marry Ananta Shanti and in that way bring books in. At the same time, Madhukar had come one night and he brought his father, Mr. Tandon. Now, Mr. Tandon, being a diplomat, he said that he would be able to bring books in the diplomatic pouch, one book at a time, every time he came to Russia. So Prabhupada's whole plan was to bring Prabhupada's books into Russia, and through the books, they would be able to learn Krishna consciousness. And this was how Krishna consciousness started in Russia. This is what Prabhupada did there. And you see now here if you go to the Holy Dhams, I don't know if it's happened in Bombay. You have many Russian devotees there in Bombay? No, here practically, in Vrindavan it comes in waves. First there were the American British devotees, then there were the Italian devotees, then now there's the Russian devotees. And soon to come, it's already happened in Mayapur, the Chinese devotees. So this is the wonderful world of Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada has such a wonderful plan, and his plan was, just as the
Hare Krishna. Her Grace Devi Shakti Mataji ki Jai. Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. I am audible to everyone?
Yes.
Okay. We will offer prayers, and after that I'll speak briefly about Her Grace Devi Shakti Mataji. Maybe for the next 10-15 minutes. Fine. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Namah Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitinamine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyat Deshatayane. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण. So, hearing from Srila Prabhupada disciple is so vital because they are just like bridges. As bridges connect one side of the river bank to the other side of the river bank, similarly, Srila Prabhupada connect Srila Prabhupada's disciple connects us to Srila Prabhupada basically by describing so many wonderful pastimes. Now, Her Grace Daivi Shakti Mataji was describing that how Srila Prabhupada went to America, then he expanded the preaching in Pakistan, and then to Russia, and how all the devotees take risk to propagate this wonderful mission of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Her Grace Devi Shakti Mataji herself is one such stalwart who had just taken this movement very, very, very seriously. So briefly, we will talk about her. I'll quickly share my screen again so that I can present. Yes, is the screen visible to everyone? Please confirm.
Yes,
Yes,
Prabhuji.
Prabhuji.
Okay, fine. So Devi Shakti Mataji is the disciple of Srila Prabhupada, we all know. And we also, many of you know that she is based in Vrindavan. But the story started somewhere in USA. Devi Shakti Mataji was from a Jewish background, and she was very much interested in God and transcendental subject matter from childhood only. She had so many questions and she wanted an answer for all those questions. And she was reading Jewish literature, Torah, and various other scriptures. And then she realized that at that time the superior philosophy was Oriental philosophy. So at that time she took admission in University of Chicago to study Oriental philosophy. So fortunately, she stumbled uh, upon Bhagavad Gita in that college, in that university. And when she started reading Bhagavad Gita, she found all the questions that she had. She found the answers for all that. Then the next thing she wanted to find the people who were actually living by the principles of Bhagavad Gita, who were practicing Bhagavad Gita in their life. So she was searching for such people. And then one fine day in Philadelphia, she was meditating and she heard devotees chanting Hare Krishna. And then she visited the temple. She attended one Bhagavad Gita class. And you won't believe, within 2 days, she joined temple. Just 2 days, she attended the Bhagavad Gita class, and within 2 days, she joined the temple. She was going outside for Harinam Sankirtan. She was going outside door to door to distribute Srila Prabhupada books. Many times I feel that when Krishna comes, already all the demigods and all the devotees are there to assist Krishna. In the same way, when Srila Prabhupada came, see how all his disciples were already there in different places, and it was just a matter of time that they immediately picked and they become the devotee. So, Her Grace Devi Shakti Mataji is one such disciple of Srila Prabhupada. And then what happened in 1970, basically, she joined the temple. And then she went to New York because Gurudas Prabhu invited her, and he told her that you people come here, and from there you people can go to India. In Vrindavan, you can do so much preaching, you can assist in the development of Vrindavan temple and whatnot. But when she went there in New York, she found a place where there were so many people, and she was distributing so many books, and her target was every day make one person devotee of Krishna. So every day she was going out, she was preaching Krishna consciousness, she was distributing Srila Prabhupada books, and she was making one devotee every day. And at the same time, she was very detached. She was giving inspiration to the people, and she was very straightforward preacher. She was talking to the people and she was inspiring them that eventually, to understand Krishna, you will have to surrender everything. To surrender everything, you will have to join temple. So what is the difficulty? Let's join the temple. Likewise, she has met many, many devotees. She put them under the temple authority and she just move on. What a detached way of preaching. So in this process, he met many devotees. He met Chandramauli Swami Maharaj. We all take inspiration from him. So, she preached those who preached us. So, Chandramauli Swami Maharaj, Devamrit Swami Maharaj, she is the one who preached them all. She distributed Srimad Bhagavatam set to Chandramauli Swami Maharaj. And she used to go to home of His Holiness Chandramauli Swami Maharaj, and she used to go and prepare full meal for him and his sister. And that is how she made both of them devotees. What a wonderful sacrifice. What a life of commitment. What a life of dedication. Just amazing. Then, in the same way, she met His Holiness Devamrit Swami Maharaj. And one fine day, they were discussing, and he said that I want to donate something. Then she went to his home along with him. And then she was basically waiting outside somewhere. And Maharaj was not coming. He was not Maharaj at that time. And then he thought maybe this boy just not serious about it. But immediately he came back with some donation, and then he started attending the programs. And one fine day he said that I want to join. So he was inspired by Devi Shakti Mataji. So Devi Shakti Mataji is really, she has some Devi Shakti, some transcendental energy by which she can create an aura that everybody feel inspired in her association. So these are few wonderful stories. Then coming to Srila Prabhupada, we know that in ISKCON, there are two great preachers, ever fresh preachers, ever effective preachers. Who are they? Our cooks, our books. Mataji is expert in both. She is expert cook, she is expert book distributor. So Srila Prabhupada, she used to cook for Srila Prabhupada. So that was the one great privilege she had. And after that, what she was doing, Srila Prabhupada personally told her that you install all my books in all the libraries and all the colleges and all the universities. And she took this instruction to her heart. Even now, she is doing that. She is based in Vrindavan. Even through post, she is distributing thousands and thousands and thousands of the books all over the India, in different universities, different colleges, different libraries, different hotels, and whatnot. So enthusiastic. And at the same time, she is giving so many wonderful lectures. She is giving so many wonderful seminars on Prabhupada Leelamrit. And she is connecting all of us to Srila Prabhupada. See how she was telling all the past times, and she actually transferred us into Prabhupada Leela. That how Prabhupada was managing everything, how what Prabhupada was going to USA, and all this. That is just amazing. That is just amazing to hear about Mataji. So we will go further in our PPT, and you'll see what else is there. So, okay. Services and contributions. I have already discussed that she was cooking for Srila Prabhupada. And when the Krishna Balram temple in Vrindavan was inaugurated in 1975, she continued her cooking services there. So what a wonderful privilege. She was cooking for her spiritual master, preaching to leaders. I already told that how she preached His Holiness Chandramauli Swami Maharaj, His Holiness Devamrit Swami Maharaj. And she was so powerful preacher. Within few days, she herself joined temple in 2 days, and the same thing she followed. She used to inspire people to join temple quickly. Then educational contribution. She is delivering numerous Srimad Bhagavatam lectures, so many seminars, and history of ISKCON. Because she joined ISKCON in 1970, she came to India in 1974. So she has very good understanding of the whole ISKCON, how our movement progressed from one phase to other phase, how we achieved one milestone to other milestone, how we faced various challenges and difficulties. What was the learning? What was the lesson learned out of those difficult scenarios and the critical situation? All that she can very beautifully describe. So it's a great privilege to have such an asset with us, and we should not like sigh from hearing from such wonderful Srila Prabhupada disciples who can really nourish our soul, who can really nourish us. Current services, she continues to offer lectures, classes both in person and online, enriching the spiritual lives of so many devotees worldwide. When she came here in Ujjain, she was telling that how she she wanted an assistant, and she was getting assistants who were not so skilled. So one fine day, somebody told that, oh, there is one disciple of Srila Prabhupada, one devotee. He is single-handedly taking care of all the Srila Prabhupada work. He's the secretary, he's the servant, he's the cook, he's doing so many stuff, so many services for Srila Prabhupada. And you know who he was? He was His Holiness Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj. So when Maharaj assisted her, she was just amazed. Wow, how this person can do so many things in so many wonderful ways. So she was talking about Guru Maharaj also. She was talking that how she's so happy to visit ISKCON Ujjain, that he's here now, and she can see the glimpse that how Srila Prabhupada was the center, and whole organization, whole ISKCON movement was built around Srila Prabhupada. In the same way, how Srila Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj has created this wonderful Vaikuntha in Avantipur Dham, where all the devotees are wonderfully cooperating to actually achieve the mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Prithvi te Chetana Garadigram, Sarvatra Prachar, Haive Mor Nam. So actually, this is what is happening. She was just mentioning about that also. So these are the things about her. She came to India in 1974, and 60,000 schools he has touched. This is what she was telling in one of the lecture. And basically all these things are there about her. Then I'll see what else is there in this PPT. But see, what really touches my heart is how Srila Prabhupada disciples have taken this movement, this mission so seriously. When Srila Prabhupada departed physically, the whole world is living for dhan, but they lived for mission. So that is just amazing. That is just amazing. At one point of time, but when they were distributing Srila Prabhupada books in India, so her husband, he told that he had a different plan. He had to go to he wanted to go back to USA, and he wanted to join the drama party of Sudama Swami Maharaj, I guess. And so he told Srila Prabhupada, and Srila Prabhupada asked about the report, that what is the report of the program. So he said that my wife is falling ill again and again, so we stopped the program, no more book distribution. But then Daivi Shakti Mataji came to Prabhupada, and she said that no, it's not like that. I want to continue. You have given me instruction. I want to live with that instruction. Husband left for USA, but she continued because Srila Prabhupada gave the instruction. I'm not telling anyone to become practical, impractical, whatever in that sense. But what we can take as outcome for ourselves is that how committed she was to fulfill the instruction of Srila Prabhupada. And even to this day, she is doing the same thing. She said that Srila Prabhupada books are my deities. She considers Srila Prabhupada books as her deities. She is worshipping them by distributing. Once somebody asked, what is the meaning of 24 by 7 chantings? He said that Srila Prabhupada told me that you chant 24 by 7. What does it mean for her? She said that chanting 24 by 7 doesn't mean just chanting on your beads. When you're distributing your books, that is also Sankirtan. When you are preaching, that is also Sankirtan. When you are leading Srimad Bhagavatam class, that is also Sankirtan. When you are glorifying some devotee, that is also Sankirtan. So Sankirtan is not just chanting on the bead. So she said that this is how I'm chanting 24 by 7. Even in my dream, when I think about devotees, when I dream about devotees, that is also Sankirtan. Even when I'm taking rest with the mindset that tomorrow morning I have to wake up and I have to go and have wonderful darshan of Radha Shyam Sundar, that is also Sankirtan, because it's all Krishna conscious. So I was just amazed hearing all these wonderful statements from Mataji. And I have humbly tried to present that before all of you, with the intent that it will inspire me to take this movement very, very seriously, and with the intent that you all will feel inspired to contribute to whatever degree we all can. So thank you very, very much for joining, for hearing patiently. And by this, we will end this session today. And again, thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Har Grace Daivi Shakti Mataji ki jai. Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shambhed Gaur Bhakta Vrind ki jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you. We will close the call. We'll wind up. And soon, in the next session, some other devotee will come with some other Srila Prabhupada disciples' life to inspire all of us. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam.